There are cynics who would rather see us divided on racial, ethnic, gender, and religious lines because it suits their political agenda. But I believe as Americans, we should stand united against all forms of bigotry.
And thankfully, some other Americans also believe that, Ilhan Omar. And in fact, the House voted 219 to 212 just yesterday to pass Representative Ilhan Omar's legislation to create a special envoy to combat Islamophobia. And to mark the occasion, she put out a tweet saying the passage of this legislation in the House of Representatives is a huge milestone for Muslims around the world and a powerful signal that Islamophobia cannot be tolerated anywhere. Standing up against bigotry might expose one to attacks, but we shouldn't be cowards. Stand tall. And this bill establishes an office in the State Department led by a presidential appointee to monitor and report Islamophobia worldwide, modeled on a similar State Department office that combats anti-Semitism globally. We'd love to see the people arguing that we don't need this one argue that we don't need that one either. In any event, it passed on strict party lines, all Democrats voting in favor and all Republicans opposing, because not a single Republican out of a group of more than 200 thought, sure, yeah, we shouldn't fight. We shouldn't want people to be discriminated against or doing hate crimes against Muslims. Not a single one, JR.
And that should be the headline. The headline shouldn't be Ilhan Omar's, well, it should be part of it because that is an accomplishment. For Ilhan Omar's bill to actually look into Islamophobia and addressing it, because it's a serious problem in the country, that's a headline. Another part of it is, and every Republican in the House does not believe in protecting religious freedom. Let's keep it real, because they keep talking about religious freedom. Oh, we're the shining example on the hill. Oh, religious freedom. In other countries, you can't practice your religion without getting assaulted and murdered by other folks or people in power that disagree with your religion. But in this country, we're different. So when we're looking to actually galvanize that declaration of how awesome we are, every person in a major political party in this country says no. We don't need to protect religious freedom, because that's what this is. It's protecting religious freedom. It's protecting Americans and anyone else who thinks they can become an American, because that's the other thing about America. We're a melting pot, aren't we? We invite the best and brightest of every other country in the world to come here and contribute to us. And then when they get here, if they don't happen to be Christian, it doesn't matter. If someone wants to assault you, if someone wants to threaten you, if someone wants to kill you, it doesn't matter if you're an elected official. It doesn't matter. You got the wrong religion in this country. That doesn't sound like the shining example on the hill. That does not sound like religious freedom. It sounds like we cater to Christians and that's it. So if that's the case, which that's what they say already, but they just don't say it in these instances. If you say something with your vote, that's even more powerful than what you tell Sean Hannity on Fox News every night about how much you hate Muslims.
Yeah.
It's just the way this, it's just a declaration of who you are. So it's about time to go ahead and fess up to it.
Yeah, and I think them voting against this demonstrates what they actually think of this area. But just in case it wasn't clear enough, the members of the House who've been most openly Islamophobic recently wanted to ensure that you know that that's where their heart is. So Marjorie Greene, who like all the rest voted against this, tweeted, "I will be voting no on Ilhan's submission bill. Phobia is an extreme or irrational fear. It's not irrational to fear Islamic terrorism or a religion that states its goal is world domination or the death of infidels." So she's a big dumb dummy. And the reason I say that is, like, a Republican is supposed to do most of that tweet. It's not irrational to fear Islamic terrorism. They're supposed to say that, implicitly conflating some Islamic terrorists with the entirety of the religion, but not explicitly saying it, you idiot. And obviously it's insane to say that at all. That would be like saying, well, any anti-Christian discrimination at all is justified because a bunch of priests have raped thousands of kids. If a priest rapes a kid, you must acquit, I guess, is the logic there. Now, in this case, she goes farther by saying, or a religion that states its goal is world domination and the death of infidels. So I don't know how a religion of more than 1 billion people supposedly is giving single statements about its purpose. And she doesn't know either, because she doesn't know a damn thing about Islam or Muslims. But she is stating there, it's not irrational to fear Islam, because Islam wants world domination and the death of infidels, which is an irrational fear for her to have, because that's not true. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of Muslims who not only don't want any of that, but are far more peaceful and understanding and compassionate people than Marjorie Greene will ever be in her life. That is an extreme fear and irrational fear. It is 100% a phobia mixed in with hatred and all of that as well, JR.
Yeah, she's right about one thing. They're not really necessarily have a phobia of Muslim folks. They just have a severe anger and violent attitude towards them. They have a bloodthirst from Muslims, and it's so from their point of view, that's what works for them. That's so the phobia is. You would think there's a fear, and maybe they're going to run away. Well, they want to tell their followers that, and then back that up with, but you know what you have to do? You can't run from these evil types. You have to confront them. So it turns from phobia to aggression when nothing was happening to you.
Well, let's demonstrate some of that aggression. So again, she's still trying to pretend that she doesn't have Islamophobia, even though she totally just did a tweet justifying why she should be Islamophobic. But in case you didn't know, here's a little bit of a mashup of some of what she's had to say about Islam in the past.
I've heard a lot of conversation from my colleagues across the aisle about Islamophobia in America, which we completely are against hate of any kind against anyone.
There is an Islamic invasion into our government offices right now.
The Democrats are now controlled by the Jihad Squad. Ilhan Omar doesn't deserve committees. She can represent radical Islam in the United States Congress. We're going to explain about how you can't swear in on the Quran.
Okay, so not only does she have the negative emotions that we would lump into Islamophobia, but she is actively bigoted. She is going out. She can't stop talking about it. She is obsessed with Muslims. Not obsessed to ever like speak to a Muslim or learn anything about Islam or anything like that. She doesn't give a damn about any of her constituents who might be Muslim. But she does literally travel across the country to hound people simply for being Muslim. She is exactly the sort of person that this special envoy should be looking into.
Remember they keep talking about how Joe Biden and Democrats don't know how to compromise. They don't know how to unify this country. That's why Joe Manchin continue to push the BS he pushes. Where's the unification? When are we going to unify? When are Republicans and conservatives going to unify for our country won't be as divided as it is? Because they keep talking about how divided we are. And they use that as a tool to say those other guys are dividing us. That's why you should be angry, fellow conservatives and Republicans, and fight back. So when are we gonna unify? I'm hearing a lot of division from these statements that she makes because when you talk to people that way and call them jihad squads and all that, is that a unifying message? They keep talking about unity whenever Democrats fight back 5% of the time because they're so mean. I can't believe you said that about me. I can't believe that you want to take away my committee and you guys just want to control us. Where's the unity? I thought you were gonna unify. Where's your Joe Manchin?
I mean, they unified in all opposing this bill. They did 100%. That. Also, by the way, just a little footnote on this. So now presumably it has to go to the Senate, right? Okay, so I'm sure the Republicans will be more reasonable. Oh, but if they're not, if they're totally unreasonable in this regard, then I'm sure the Democrats will get rid of the filibuster and pass it, right? Okay, sure will.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.